So I'm gonna talk about weather, and I'm going to talk about seasons and riding in different seasons here in a minute. But let me just talk about a couple other things, lessons that I've learned long distance motorcycle riding, and that is wet weather gear. All right. So one of the challenges that I've always struggled with is leather enough, right? So I've got, what I wear is I wear my vest, I wear my jacket. I usually wear chaps because if the engine gets hot, it protects me from the heat. If it gets wet, it rains, then it protects me from that. Even though I've got lower fairings, man, rocks will still find my shins. God, it hurts too. So the chaps definitely take the brunt of most of that. If I'm doing shorter runs, I'll forego the chaps, but most of the time I wear the chaps. So if it's going to rain, the question has always been, I'm full-faced helmet, I'm wearing leather on leather, and I'm wearing leather on my jeans, and then I've got leather gloves, so I should be, according to some people, I should be fine for wet weather gear, or for wet weather situations. I will say that's 90% true. A typical scenario like one I experienced is I went to San Diego not too long ago, a few months ago, and went to San Diego, and we went through Albuquerque, and Albuquerque was wet. We were getting rained on pretty much 6 hours on the highway. So basically we went south from Colorado Springs. As soon as we got into New Mexico, it started drizzling. It cleared up in a couple times, but once we hit the I-40, to connect into Albuquerque, we went straight south to Madrid, and then we hit 40 to go into Albuquerque, and basically as soon as we got on 40, it just started raining, right? And rain, right? And it pretty much did that for the rest of the night. We got in late into, I don't remember where, we got late into the edge of New Mexico, so, so we were getting a lot of rain, and we were pretty wet. But every time it stopped, the riding, we would get dried off. It would, basically the wind would evaporate the moisture on the leather. Right now, my jeans, they were still wet. Right, they're not leather pants. They're so they're just chaps. All right, so we all know that they're not pants, they're chaps. So there's not full coverage, which is fine, and even that would dry out. It was so it was so bad. The rain was so bad that I could feel it dripping down my leg, and then all the way down to the boots, right, and getting into my socks. And so we were getting a deluge, because when we were going through Albuquerque and it was raining on us, we were doing it. It was during rush hour, and we weren't moving very fast, and so it was coming straight down on us, right? And so my pants were soaked from the waist all the way down to the boots, right? And but by the time we actually stopped for dinner, like at 8 o'clock at night or 6 o'clock at night, whenever, anyway, so by then it had stopped for about an hour or something. I was dry, and so it will wick, and it works. That worked great, right? The next day we were dry. Any extra moisture that was in the leather was pulled out. So if you're dealing with even a full day of rain, as long as you're staying warm, you got layers, right? And then, or it's warm enough that you don't really get, hypothermia or anything like that, then it's fine. The leather is fine when it's wet, and it will dry out, and it'll be perfectly okay. We went to, let's talk about the exceptions. So we went up to the Pacific Northwest. And we went in June. I thought June would be fine. It was not fine. As soon as we got into the hills of Seattle, soon as we hit the hills, going up and over into Seattle, it rained on us. Constant heavy rain. And we were there in the Northwest for 4 days. We went to Seattle. We went to Vancouver, Washington, and then we went down to the Pacific Coast Highway, and we went down all that way down to Southern California, or close to LA, not into LA. All right. Anyway, so we were for 4 days. We were stuck in continuous rain, and 4 days continuous rain, and we could not get dry. We could not get dry. We would change our clothes, right? But we still had to put on wet leather, and that was miserable. And so we called it the Great Wettening, and that was our limit. Basically, if it's 2 days of continuous rain, put your damn wet weather suit on, because it'll make a difference. Once we did that, it helped stay a little bit warmer. It kept the leather from getting oversaturated. It was pretty saturated, trust me. And now the wife put on the gear right away. I did not, because I tough it out. I can do this. I was also very curious. Lesson learned. If it's just a 1 day, you don't have to put your wet weather gear on unless it's cold. You don't want to be doing that in the cold. Otherwise, if it's going to be longer than a day, you've got an extended rain forecast, put the gear on. Just look like a nerd and do it, all right? And it'll make a difference. And then the other lesson learned on that was, put the little hat on before you put the helmet on, right? Wife did that. I did not, and she'd have to dump the water out of the collection, out of the hood thing, multiple times, whatever. It wasn't that bad, but it was noticeable. So there's that.